Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm out today. I had to take care of my daughter. She's sick today. So anyways, I wanted to go over the review. I wanted to give you a review today to help you get ready for your ACP. So I created my own little review here. It says, which of the following is the correct equation for the given graph? Okay. So the one thing we need to focus on is the vertex, okay? And all these equations are in vertex form, all right? So I noticed that this moves 2 to the left, and in the past I've talked about it moving, when it moves to the left, it's actually opposite, okay? So anything in the parentheses tells me that it's moving in the x direction. So if I'm looking here, okay, I'm moving in the x direction here, okay? So it moves 2 to the left. So if it moves 2 to the left, okay, that means it is opposite of -2. So it would be +2. So 1, 2, that's +2, okay? So right now, I actually can get rid of one answer right here, and that's A. Okay, so if I look here, okay, I can get rid of A. So, done. Okay, now I notice that it moves down 1. Okay, so since it moves down 1, okay, it's going in the y direction. So it's down 1 is the y direction is the same as what it said. So if it went down 1, it should be -1. Okay, so right now you should be moving over to the left, so that's +2, and then down 1, it's -1. So the only one that has that is B. Okay, all right. All right, here we go with number 2. So with number 2, we're looking to see the domain. Now remember, domain is in the x direction, okay? Also, we're looking at interval notation, so you got to know when to use a bracket and when to use a parentheses. So we're always going to go from the least or lowest to highest, okay? So as I'm looking at this, the lowest right here, if I'm looking at the x direction, okay, this is where it starts and it keeps going, okay? There's an arrow at the end. So if I'm looking, it's going to cross the x-axis right here at -3, okay? So right now, I can actually get rid of a bunch of answers. That one, and that one, okay? And so it goes from -3, and you notice that if I trace this line, it's going to infinity right here, okay? So that means in the x direction, if I'm looking in this direction, okay, it's going to infinity. So if you look at B, B has it going to infinity. And remember, if it has a closed circle, it's got a bracket, okay? If it goes to infinity, it always has a parentheses, all right? So there's how you do number 2. Here we go with number 3. Number 3 is asking for the range. Remember, the range is in the y direction, okay? So again, we're going from lowest to highest when we do the range, okay? So if I look at the lowest value here, okay, the lowest, okay, if we look at it as it on the y-axis here, the lowest is -2, okay? And then I'm looking for the highest value. So the highest value is right here, and it hits at 2, okay? So the lowest is -2, the highest is 2. You have 2 closed circles, okay? So that means you're going to have 2 brackets also. So my lowest is -2, my highest is 2, so the answer is A. Okay, so I wanted to, here's number 4. I wanted to show you a trick with this, okay, on the calculator. So this will make your life a little bit easier, make you go a little quicker with your calculator as a tool. Okay, so I'm going to pop this up, move this over here, okay, so you guys can see it. All right, and so from here, okay, I'm going to do a trick on your calculator. So I want you to put it in to calculate mode right here, okay? So in calculate mode, okay, for number 4, you're going to actually use the nsolve tool. So I actually did it right here already, but we're going to do it again, so just to show you. So on the nsolve, okay, I want you to press menu, go to number 3, okay, and then go to number 1, okay. So you, again, menu, 3, number 1, okay. So that's how you get. So what it's going to do is it's going to solve this type of equation, okay. So I'm going to plug in 7, okay, plus 3. Now, how do I get to the absolute value sign? Well, if you look on your calculator, there is an kind of like an open book type of key, okay? I don't know if you see it, but my mouse is kind of circling around it. Well, right next to it, it almost looks like there's a face. So you're going to click on that, and there's the absolute value, okay? Do not try to type in the absolute value symbol, otherwise it won't work, okay? So you have to click on this, and inside it says x minus 1, so I got to put x minus 1. Then I got to press the right arrow key to get out of it. Go to the equals key, 6x minus 5, okay? Then you're not totally done. You'll have to tell the calculator what you're solving for. So you got to put comma x, and that tells your calculator that you're solving for the x value, okay? Press enter on your calculator, and there you go. It says it's 3. So answer 3, okay? So right from there, I'm going to, so right there should be A, okay? So, all right, so from there, let me pause. All right, pause this. Yes, Avery? Trying to pause. Okay, so I, on this one, so number 5 is done the same way. You're going to use your nsolve tool. Number 6, you could also graph these on the calculator as well and check to see which one it is. But what you can do is also see where this dot is right here, and that's going to help you determine the equation, okay? Remember, we're looking in the x direction and then the y direction, okay? So if I'm looking at here, okay, I'm looking to see, all right, these are all square roots. This tells me if it's in the x direction, if it's under the square root. Anything outside the square root is in the y direction, okay? So right from here, okay, this is all under the square root. It's just the x is under the square root. Just the x is under the square root, okay? Now, I noticed that this is not moved right or left, so all these, I can get rid of these two answers right here, because this shows x plus 3, x plus 5, and x plus 3, and so in those directions, okay, these tell me if it's moving left or right. This has not moved left or right. So in this one, it is moving up 3. So my answer would be D. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. All right, you can also use, for number 7 here, you can also use nsolve on your calculator as an option, the same way I just did the one earlier. Also, to get rid of a square root, the easiest way to do this, okay, actually is to, you can square both sides, okay? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to square it on both sides, okay? And by doing that, that gets rid of the square root. So this becomes 100 equals 14r plus 2, and then now it's solved from here. So I would minus 2 for both sides, and that gives me 98 equals 14r. Okay, sorry about my handwriting. And dividing by 14, and that gives me 7. Okay, and so there's my answer for that one. Right, so the next set of questions actually is asking you for the inverses. So for the inverse, the best way to handle it is, usually what I like to do is I like to pick a point on the graph, okay? And usually when you pick a point on the graph, you're going to write out that point, 1, comma 1, right? And what you have to do is you have to write it backwards. So instead of writing it, to write 1, 1 backwards, it's still 1, 1, okay? Now, I got to graph that again. Well, if that second point that I put on here does not land on the other graph, then it's not an inverse. So 1, 1, if I write it forwards and backwards, okay, it's still right here, okay? It did not land on the blue one. So that means that this is not an inverse, okay? The other thing that you guys need to know about inverses, the inverses go across the line y equals x, okay? It reflects across it, okay? If you look at number 9 is actually a really good example of how a reflection across y equals x is, okay? So here you go. Look at number 9. It looks like these two are reflecting right here. You can see their reflection across the line, okay? So that is definitely an inverse, number 9, okay? And so I think the answer to that one's yes. I know I can't slide this down, but it is going to be yes for that one, okay? As you can see, number 8 above, if I were to draw y equals x, this is not reflected over here, okay? So the reflection is not over there. So that's why 8 is not an inverse. Number 9 actually is.
You literally just plug in that on the graph and it just whatever seems like the picture is the
Okay, so for number 9, again, so I was saying earlier, it's got to reflect over y equals x in order to be an inverse, so A would be the answer because it says y equals x. Okay, so then the next one also, what is the linear function of the inverse graph? What will it reflect across? So it has to reflect across y equals x, okay? The next one, okay, number 11, what is the inverse of those points? Like I said earlier, you're going to take a point like 1, 3, okay, and then you have to switch it around. So like 1, 3 becomes 3, 1, okay? And then you're going to do that for every single point in number 11 here. So every single point, there has to be switched around. So the only one that actually has that answer is actually A right there, okay? That actually has it all switched around. All right. Okay, so we're looking at 12 and 13, okay? And this is still kind of similar to before. If you notice that this is y equals x, and it looks like it's a reflection across y equals x. So is this an inverse? Yes, it is. Okay, if we look over here, are these functions inverses? Well, this one's kind of tricky. It almost looks like they reflect, right? But like I said earlier, it's good to pick a point. So let's pick a point. Here's the point, 0, 2. Okay, so if I were to take 0, 2, okay, and reflect it, it should come out to 2, 0, okay? Well, if I look at there and I graph 2, 0, I'm going to put a dot there now. Okay, there's 2, 0. Does that land on the blue line? Well, obviously it doesn't. So if it doesn't land on the other graph, from the original, it is not an inverse, okay? All right, looking at 14 and 15, sorry. Here's another example I'm looking for. Are these inverses? Well, here's y equals x. Do they look like they reflect across that? Okay. The other thing also, if you can't tell that they're reflecting across that, pick a point again. So here's a point right here. I'm going to pick 4, 2 on this graph, and I'm going to switch it around to 2, 4, okay? So, and I notice when I graph 2, 4, okay, 2, 4 is not on that red graph right here with the dotted line. So that obviously this is not an inverse, okay? Looking at the bottom, I look at this and it looks like it actually is reflecting, but how do we know for sure? Well, let's see. Let's take a point, okay? Let's take an easy point to graph. So if I were to take 1, 1, and switch it, it becomes 1, 1 as well. So does the other graph go across 1, 1? Yes, it does. So this is actually an inverse, number 15. Also, it drew the line of reflection here across y equals x, and you can see that it's reflecting. All right, here we go.